Yo, welcome back to the Again podcast. It's Michael. Joined here with Daniel. What's up, Daniel?
What's up, Michael? It's good to be back.
Still alive? Quarantined and all?
Unfortunately, no. I'm talking to you in the spirit realm, and it's pretty nice up here.
Oh, I see. You have traveled. You have traveled beyond the grave.
Yes.
Please don't haunt me.
Unfortunately, my body has perished due to the coronavirus, which I'm talking to you in the spirit.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be looking for a new co-host. Please submit your applications. Since Daniel will his connection from the underworld will still be cut. He will soon run out of data, so he cannot communicate with the world above. And so I'll be taking applications soon. Let me know.
Yes, I only had 5 hours, and I'm spending a few of them to do this episode, so you guys better enjoy it.
Yeah, the rest is to play Call of Duty.
Yeah, exactly.
So, our situation so far is quarantined. That's our status. Now, for the past few weeks or month, actually, the last time we recorded was in February, right?
Yes.
Beginning February.
Yeah.
And so that was the last episode. And ever since life happened, exams happened, travel happened. And so Daniel and I couldn't get to recording the podcast, but now we're back. And now we have a good excuse to record a podcast because we have literally nothing else to do except our menial duties and
And some studying. Schools have gone online.
Right.
Unfortunately, I was looking forward to just getting a pass, canceling the class, but they went online.
Exactly. So the time that we saved in transportation, now we're going to use it to edit and record the podcast.
2 hours a day.
Yeah. No, but honestly, we might use the podcast as a venue to just do something more creative while we're isolated in the house, so we don't go mad. And since we have the time, we might as well use it to do so. And that being said, I don't want to focus too much on the coronavirus, Daniel, since I'm already sick of hearing about it. I just listened to the bare minimum news I could every day, and now after that I just zone out and I don't care anymore about the news. So
Same.
any opportunity I get to avoid listening about these new updates and whatever, and the fake news reporting about how terrible certain government is dealing with it, I'll just try to avoid it because it's not important. But the important thing that we have to know is honestly, just stay safe and wash your hands and stay isolated. Listen to what your medical body of your country, whether it's a CDC or Santé Québec or Santé Canada, whatever governing body it has, just listen to them. Don't listen to the news, and you should be fine. So that's all our talk about Corona per se. Well, we might cover tech-related Corona stuff, like new developments in technology, because it's incredible what's happening out there later. But that's going to be all for us. And that's it. Unless if you want to add something else to now before we bury this topic in a pit that we can never dig out.
Wash your hands and social distance. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. So Daniel, I got to put my phone 6 feet away from me because you might infect me, even though you're dead and you're beyond the grave.
Yes.
Technically,
I am with you in your house.
You have spiritual coronavirus.
Yeah. It stayed with me beyond the grave, sadly. Unfortunately, it has.
Yeah, metaphysical coronavirus. What?
Yeah.
What?
What a nasty disease goes across the grave.
Yeah, another nasty disease that we have around is the paper straws. And in my quest to find the perfect straws, I have came across this new straw made of the agave plant.
Would you care to explain what these plants are? Or
yes,
where they come from?
Agave is this berry plant, and acai, same thing, basically the same thing. And apparently, the fibers of them could produce. I tried it. They produce a straw that's not translucent, but functionally speaking, it's exactly as a plastic straw, but it's completely biodegradable and doesn't melt.
Where did you find these straws?
So I was at the gym, and they had them in the protein shake bar thing. And the guy gave me a sample, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Can I see this?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. Try it out." So I took one and I chewed on it for a while and never degraded in my mouth. And I'm like, and it felt like a straw, but it's like this brown transparentish, and there's fibers in the transparent look. So I was really impressed, and I was taken aback. Wow, it's basically a straw, but it's biodegradable when it reacts to dirt matter and seawater. anything that has for a long extended period of time. So the turtles could be happy, and yeah.
Does it break up and stuff, or no? It stays like solid like a straw.
No, it feels like a plastic straw.
That's amazing.
I
You see?
chewed on it. I chewed on it. Like, see, this is innovation. Like, if Burger King came out with this, I would have been fine. If Subway came out with this, I would have been fine.
Paper straws are not the solution. See, there are other things. Like we have engineers that create rockets that go to space. They create like machines that can excavate tunnels big enough for metros, entire trains to fit in. And then after they come up with paper straws, it's like, are you kidding me? This is
Even-
proper engineering put to
Dude, we have
use for
Teslas, man.
straws.
We have Teslas.
We have Teslas. Come on.
Yeah,
And
seriously,
you're
we
giving
have-
us paper straws. Save some sea turtles.
Seriously. Go plant a tree or something, you know?
Now the true
Yeah.
question is, how much do these straws cost, or does the gym sell them, or they just give them out?
No, they give them away with the drinks you buy. They don't sell them.
I see.
But yeah,
I see.
I have here my drink, my mason jar with my metal straw, and it's serving me fine. But I'm scared like to hit my teeth with it and break it, you know?
Break your teeth or break the mason jar?
Well, break my teeth on the metal straw. Like if I'm careful when I put it near my mouth so I don't hit my teeth with a straw.
It's true. Yeah,
So,
you can.
because
You don't want to find a
especially-
tooth inside of your drink.
Dude, crack
That's
my
not
tooth. Man.
fun.
Like it's not fun right now at all because like all the dentists are closed. So,
Exactly.
If I break my tooth right now, like I'm in big trouble. So I'm looking forward for the agave fiber straws being a thing, and I hope it catches on and not just like a thing that like fancy places have. I hope, as far as I can tell, they're affordable, but they need to catch on seriously.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
And that they get rid of all this like dumb paper stuff, man. It's horrible. It's horrible.
That's right. And it
I
the nice thing
advise
about
you
it
to go
doesn't have
try a paper straw and see what it's like, so you can feel the horrors that are surrounded by paper straws.
seriously. But I don't want to belabor this topic. I just want to come every once in a while when I have a development about a straw. I want to be known as the straw guy, Michael, the Apple straw guy. And every time I find something new, I'll give an update. So this is just a short update. And so something happened lately, aside of the coronavirus. Daniel bought something very fascinating. Daniel, please tell us what you bought.
Yes, I have finally upgraded my phone. I was using
yeah, that's it.
a little measly iPhone 6s
Yeah.
for the past about for the
That's it.
past I think a year and like 2 years about. I think I had gotten in like May last year. But finally I decided to upgrade because unfortunately I was not having a case on my phone and I was using it and it fell off of a counter onto the hard ceramic floor and the screen died. The screen did not crack. The glass was fine, but like the pixels, there was all like bars across the screen. The touch didn't work anymore, so the phone died. And I'm like, well, I need a new phone. And I was looking to upgrade anyways because that phone was old and was very buggy. And like a lot of things were like not working. I would just get random bugs in like the OS and with Bluetooth connectivity and even Wi-Fi sometimes. So I was already thinking of upgrading and then it broke. So I'm like, well, I'm forced now. I mean, you could get a replacement screen on eBay for $20, but I'm like, whatever. I was looking to upgrade. So I went to the Apple store and I decided on an iPhone 11 Pro Max. And I am really happy with the decision. The phone is amazing. Compared to the 6S, it's like a million times better. You can't even compare. It's like night and day. It's like 10 times faster. Like the speed, you can't compare. Like it just launches apps so much faster, loads web pages so much faster. Everything is just faster. And also
yeah,
the
for sure.
camera. The camera, you can't even like. I look at the pictures I took with my old phone and the ones I take with the one I just got, and it's like, wow.
What
It's
is
like,
this
can't
piece of
even-
junk?
Can't even believe I used to even take pictures with that thing.
All right,
And
all right.
then-
But an important question right now. How much storage did you get?
64 gigs.
All right. And did you use the trade-in option?
I did not because my phone was broken and I asked them about it and they're like, no, your phone needs to be working. So I could not have gotten, because the screen wasn't working, I could not have traded it in. unfortunately. So, but for the 6S, they would only give you like $60 if it
Oh,
was in
that's
good
a
condition. So
yeah. You could get more
I'm
than that
like,
online.
yeah, if you sell it. And I'm happy with it. The screen quality is amazing. The OLED is so nice. The blacks are so deep, and the screen is amazing. The camera is amazing. The size is incredible. I don't know how I was using such a small display. It wasn't a 6S Plus. It was just a stock, like small 6S. And about the notch, I don't notice it. It sort of fades away when you're using your
Right?
phone in when you're using your phone in portrait. It's like you don't notice it because it's at the top, and then when you're watching content or gaming, it's on the left side, which is like it doesn't really get in the way because if you do like full screen mode, I find there's more of an issue between like cutting off the top and the bottom rather than cutting off the side because of the notch. So yeah, people who complain about the notch, it's like either you just get used to it or it doesn't get in the way. I mean,
Right.
obviously it would be
Right.
nicer if
Yeah.
there was nothing, but I find if you have a notch or if you have a hole punch or if you have a smaller notch, it's all the same thing. There's still an obstruction. So
Right.
whether it's big or small, it's like until they get rid of the notch completely, if there's a smaller notch, to me it doesn't really make a difference. It would be nicer to have it smaller, but it's not like it'll like, I mean, it's still going to be blocking the left side of the screen. So
Right.
that's the way I see it.
Yeah. No. Totally valid. Like at this point of time, I don't understand the people that are saying, oh, the notch is overly exaggerated big, and it's ruining my view. Like I don't even notice it. I feel like the designers of the OS and the people that are designing applications have like realized that there's a notch and have worked around it to the point where you don't even notice it. Like I've never found myself in a situation where content was being blocked by the notch that I needed to see. Like even like on YouTube or like in video platforms, you have like this ability to zoom so that the content's not hidden by the notch.
Yeah, exactly. Like even when you do zoom, there's nothing on the left side of your or whatever right side on how you're holding your phone. There's nothing that's there. If anything, when you do the zoom in feature, I find that sometimes I don't do it when I'm watching certain videos because it cuts out the top end of the screen or the bottom end of the screen to fit in the aspect ratio of your phone display. And that is what I actually find more annoying because sometimes it'll cut off like a person's head in a show or like it'll cut off some words that someone would have written down in a YouTube video on their display. So I find it's more the fact of the aspect ratio of the phone blocking it rather than the notch. And then if you're not in full screen mode, the notch is like it's not even in the shot. Like it's in the bezel part of the display. So
All right.
to me the notch really is nothing to that the fuss was about it. So
Yeah, so the whole exaggerated overblown proportion out of proportion crisis about the notch was basically just ignorant, self-involved, complaining, unappreciative. Basically people all around that you know aren't satisfied with like the simple things, and they just complain about like a perfectly fine piece of technology. It's at this point it's being critical for the sake of being critical. Because criticism draws attention, and when people criticize, like it's like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
yeah, exactly. And to be honest, I would rather have Face ID and a notch than like Touch ID with like in display or something and no notch
Right?
because like
Is it
Face ID
isn't
is
Face
amazing.
ID great? It's
Yeah,
amazing, huh?
it's worth the notch. Like if you tell me like we'll put an in-display fingerprint sensor and remove the notch or leave the notch and have Face ID, I would take Face ID. So
I
I don't
find
know.
myself in want of having Face ID on everything. Like my door has Face ID, and like just like Face ID all the things. My car has Face ID. Like that would be amazing. Um, it would be much simpler. Everything having Face ID.
Just the only thing is I trust Apple, I guess, with my face data, but I don't know if I'll trust car companies or
Right.
door
Well, at this
companies
point,
with
you
my
need to
face
buy an
data.
Apple
So
car.
yes, if Apple made a car and they put Face ID to unlock it, perfect. But I wouldn't trust like BMW with my face data. Nope, you could keep your door
They'll analyze your face while you're driving and create this like model of seeing if you're distracted or not. I don't know.
They're like, this
It's
man looks at his phone when he's driving. What a shame. But
yeah.
I know this is another topic, but car companies do spy on you they know how fast you're going, they know what you listen to,
Oh, I
and
bet.
all
I'm
that
sure
jazz.
they do. I'm sure
So
they do.
car companies are spies. They know everything you do. They know how often you go to the grocery store.
Yeah, they want to gather information about their clients to see who's doing what, and so it might lead to like product development. So maybe if they have more
Yeah.
information about the demographic that's using whatever product, they could maybe figure out, oh, this feature is being used, this one is not being used, whatever. The drivers are using this. This is the road conditions in those areas. Most of our drivers are driving in snowy area or in rainy area.
No,
So
but like they take like how fast you're going, what route you take to your work or wherever you're
oh
going,
yeah, for sure. That
like
too.
how
That too.
fast you're going, how hard you brake. Like they calculate everything and then they sell it. So I don't know, but I'm just happy I have an old car that doesn't do that, and I don't think yours is new enough to do it either. So
Probably not.
it's more with
It
OnStar with I think Chevy. So as long as you don't have a Chevy with
Yeah,
OnStar, you're
and
good.
actually anything with OnStar because those require those require like the OnStar people to know what's wrong with your car before you even call them.
Exactly.
They
You know,
actually call you when it's something
exactly.
wrong.
I actually have a funny story about this guy who was driving a Corvette on a track. He was tracking it and he was accelerating and braking like so hard that the OnStar called him and thought he was in an accident or something. So that's pretty funny.
Boy, he has been hitting a lot of G's, yo.
All right, so I think we're ready to get into the show.
Welcome to the Again and Again podcast. I'm Michael, joined here with my co-host Daniel. This is episode 15. So Daniel, we have been blessed by many product releases and more rumored releases to be expected. Namely, in a while ago, the 16-inch MacBook Pro has been released,
Yes.
and 16-inch
Blue
MacBook Pro is essential.
keyboards.
Yes. It's essentially, just for those who aren't super aware of that stuff, it is everything that we wanted into the 15-inch MacBook, including a more bezel-less display.
Yes, smaller bezels,
So essentially,
more screen.
yes, give us all the screen we can. So it's almost the same body as the 15-inch.
It's a little bigger. It's a
yeah,
bit
not-
bigger and thicker. Just a bit.
Yeah, it's a few millimeters in thickness and in size, but overall it's the same. Like I think if you have like those gel cases or whatever for your
It'll fit. It'll
or
fit.
leather cases, you're not gonna have to buy a new one. It will fit. It's like a 1 or maybe 1 or 2 millimeters larger. It's not that bad. So, and it has the maximum capacity of battery that you could put in a device and still be allowed to be in a plane. So it has a 100 milliamp, whatever.
Isn't it kilowatt hour? 100 kilowatt hour?
I'm not sure. It's some kind 100 whatever measurement of unit that they use to measure battery capacity, and that allows them to go in the planes while maximizing battery life. And so I'm really happy about that. They did an upgrade of the specifications, not that much compared to the prior version, but the cooling seems to be way better in this version. So they did fix the thermals. They added a physical escape key, which is awesome.
A lot of
I love
developers are complaining about that because
Yeah,
like,
man,
I use
I
the escape
use-
key all the time, and
I know, I use the
it's
escape
fake.
key all the time.
It's a fake escape key.
Right,
But
you gotta
I don't find it that bad. I have the fake escape key, and I don't find it. But to be honest, I don't use it that often. So
yeah.
but
I
when
tried
I
to
do,
put myself in the
I don't find it that
mindset.
bad.
Yeah, I tried to put myself in the mindset of like, what is it like to not having a physical escape key? You know, like sometimes I'm doing something and I need to, like, let's say I'm in a full screen application, or I'm previewing a file, and sometimes I just reach for the escape key. And I was using a touch bar MacBook from like a classmate, and he I performed that same maneuver where I clicked on a file to preview it, and I wanted to close it, and I went to reach for the escape key, but then I started looking for where it was, even though it's in the same spot in the top corner. I instinctively thought that it was not there. And so it seems like the touch bar is actually like ruining my sense of orientation. You know, it's like I'll have to retrain myself, which isn't that big of a deal if I could get used to it quickly. But still, like the fact of having a escape key that is actually physical, and like I could depend on it, and like the let's say the touch bar bugs when in a critical moment, and the escape key doesn't bug, like the physical escape key, I have nothing to worry about. So for me, that's a
Yeah.
big plus, honestly.
Well, to be honest, like you do end up getting used to the fake escape key. The only thing I don't like about it is that it disappears. Like the touch bar turns off, and I hate that. I wish you could have like a feature of leaving the touch bar on permanently. I have gone on forums and looked at ways on how to do it, and there were people who said go into your automator and put in this code, and people had written out code on how to keep the touch bar on permanently. But then I'm like, do I want to do it? I might burn in the touch bar and this and that. So
Right.
it is very annoying that it turns off because it's like sometimes
Because
you
it is
want to
OLED, by
adjust
the
the
way.
yeah, it is. So sometimes you want to like adjust the brightness or lower the volume, and it's like you have to tap it twice, which is I don't want to tap it twice. I want to tap like I want to have it the button there.
Right.
Like so you have to wake up
Totally,
the
totally.
touch bar and then use whatever function you want to use, and it's the same with the escape key. So, but if you're typing or you're moving your mouse around or anything like that, so if you are using your computer, like in the case of video editing or watching, sorry, not watching, watching it'll turn off. But in the case of even looking at a preview, unless you're static, if you're scrolling, it'll stay on. So if you want to close it, it will be there. You don't have to tap twice, but it's only when you're not using it, you have to tap it twice. And also, like right now, because I'm using FaceTime on my Mac, it has the FaceBar menu on. The FaceTime menu on the touch bar. So right now I don't have the escape key. So if I wanted to use it, I would have to X out the FaceTime menu and then the escape key would appear. So there are a few things which I don't
That's
like.
inconvenient. That's really
Like
inconvenient.
I want the escape key there all the time.
Right.
But I guess
So
you end up getting used to it.
yeah, that's one of the keys that like you don't want to look for it. Like let's say not you want to stop an operation before it happens and ruin something on your computer, or you lose a file or whatever, ruin something. You need the escape key handy as soon as you can. But asides that, like there was many other improvements. Like let's say let's take the price point for an example. The price of the laptop did not go up, yet it was improved in every single manner. And I'd like to add that now it's default that you get the 6-core processor as the base model. You
And
get
also
more,
256 gigs of storage. If I'm
yeah, more storage.
So instead of 128, you're getting 256 base.
Yeah, and the graphic cards, it comes by default with the 5000 or the 5500 M from Nvidia, which is of course a laptop
AMD.
graphics card. Yes, that's what I meant. Sorry. From AMD, it is the lower power one that we've mentioned in in a prior podcast. I think this summer we talked about it when we were back in the attic. And the 5500 was an excellent graphics card, and the mobile version apparently is very efficient. It's based on like the 5 nanometer or 7 nanometer node size, so that's good for efficiency, and it's extremely powerful. And for like maybe $100, you could bump it up to the 5700, which is better than the Vega 20.
Yeah,
So like
which
all in all, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, all in all, upgrading the MacBook Pro to its maximum capacity aside storage will cost you like not that much more money. Like even the processor upgrades, like to get the higher tier processors, if you spec it out to the maximum, you might go out with like a cart price of maybe a 4,500 US, which isn't that bad for a maxed out laptop with that much performance, like with the i9 9900K, or actually a 9900H, because it's a laptop processor.
Yeah, and also a 16-inch display and all that stuff. And
yeah, exactly. And the 5700 graphics card. So I'm really impressed. And actually, there's a second tier, I think, of the graphics card, but with more storage. I think there's one with 4 gigs of GDDR5 RAM, and one with I think it's 4, and then it's 8, if I'm not mistaken. And honestly, that's perfect. Like, I don't like why if you need more graphical intensive stuff for the
Get an
little
eGPU.
yeah, like at this point, like you could do almost everything on the laptop. It's almost as powerful as the iMac Pro, which is very surprising. Maybe not in cooling wise, but in small workloads that are not like not pegging all your cores and processors and the graphic cards to the maximum for an extended period of time. You should be fine with this laptop for any kind of work. And
Yeah.
actually, I'm considering buying it. Like I think I mentioned to you, I started this project that's secret, and I do need more horsepower in my computer, and I'm considering, especially with my work as well, I need a newer computer that runs that could allow me to run a parallel without too much damage to my battery life, because the battery life on this laptop is getting bad, even though
Yes,
it's
and you haven't told me what this project is, and I'm upset.
yeah, it's okay.
But
You
to
look. In all fairness, you didn't tell me about the iPhone. Haha.
yeah, but you found out after like a day because you asked my sister.
Yeah, but I suspected it before. I
Yeah,
kind of knew. I
but-
kind of knew it before.
Well, it's
like-
because my phone was broken and I was still talking to you. So you're like, how are you talking?
yeah,
to
but
me?
you could have
So,
used your Mac,
I
but I still knew that you had your phone with you, and I don't know how I suspected. I just had the feeling. Honestly, I just had a feeling that you bought a phone.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
He spies on me. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But to be
Look,
honest, I
You know,
wish.
but hold on. You know how they talk about women's intuition? Like a woman has amazing intuition
Yes.
compared to man. Well, woman intuition ain't got nothing on me. I have the best intuition in the world.
You created woman intuition.
Yes, women intuition was picked up from me. You know, they saw me intuit stuff and they're like, oh, this is awesome. We should pick this up as a skill.
Exactly. But it's nice that it comes with a high GPU, like a powerful GPU
Oh,
base.
yeah, for sure.
Because the thing
For
is
sure.
I got the base. I think it's base GPU. I think it's like the Intel Iris something. I don't even know. But
Yeah.
I try gaming on Windows Boot Camp on my Mac.
Nah, that's bad.
And today I downloaded Call of Duty Warzone and I went to launch it and it's like your GPU does not meet the base specs to run this game and we cannot launch the game. And then they're like, yeah, at first a pop-up screen said it's like you don't have enough VRAM. And it's like, do you want to still launch the game? It'll run slowly and it might crash. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll still launch it. And then I go to launch it, and then later another pop-up comes in. It's like, sorry, no, we can't launch the game. It's like straight up, just like no. And then I'm like,
I can't take this anymore. It's too much. Yeah, but you got to be careful, bro. You don't want to burn your computer.
yeah, I know.
But now you have a phone and you could like legit. This game is available, I think, on a mobile version.
It is.
And so, like, basically, instead of buying an eGPU or a better computer or building your own Windows computer, you could play the same games on your phone, and in some ways, it's better because the screen is amazing. To get a similarly compared screen on in real life, like a 23-inch similar screen, you'll be paying
it
maybe
would cost a lot.
$500.
Yeah.
So,
Just for display.
there's benefits to that phone. But back to back to the 16-inch MacBook. They fixed all of the gripes of the people. Like we mentioned.
Didn't talk about the keyboard.
Yeah, I was getting to it. Like, remember when we used to talk about the Mac Pro this summer, back in the summer,
Yes.
where they finally delivered the Mac Pro. Hallelujah! All pros are rejoicing and everyone's happy. Yeah, well, imagine that, but for the 15-inch MacBook Pro. See, most creators and people that are really fans of the 15-inch MacBook Pro were very disappointed, even though the latest MacBook Pros were fine. They were still, it was still not 15-inch mid 2015 level of greatness, where it was all around good laptop, no like sharp edges that like irk you and hurt like your productivity. It just works. And I feel like they went back to do that. And anyone that tells you otherwise, like, honestly, the 2.6 gigahertz 6-core processor with base 512 storage and an AMD Radeon Pro 5300 megabyte M, and with that 16 gigabyte of fast RAM, the touch bar and the escape. So aside the touch bar, which some people like, some people don't. You've got everything that you wanted. On top of that, they fixed the overheating.
Exactly. Well, you know what I feel about the touch bar without the escape key? I find it's useful because it does give you extra functions. Like you can do things with it. You can actually like pause, play videos with it, and
Right.
I don't know. In Logic Pro, there are functions that when you go into what are they called? There, those things there.
The tools, the
Yeah,
toolbar, the
exactly. When
utilities.
you want to go into like tools and stuff, you can adjust the gain and you can adjust settings in Logic Pro using the touch bar. And
Right.
if you want to get your function keys, there's a little FN button on the bottom left of your keyboard, and there you go. You just press that, and your
Yeah,
function
but
keys come
honestly, I
up.
never used the
So
function keys. Like,
exactly,
actually,
me
like
neither.
you want to
So
laugh? The last time I used the function key was to play Minecraft. I had to use the F3 thing for my coordinates. So
I don't. I don't even
I
think
only
I've
use
ever used the function keys. So
the function keys are only useful because they help me to raise the brightness, lower the brightness, mute, and like all that stuff. Like,
yeah,
I've
well,
never used the function keys for anything else.
they
Even F3 and F4 key I never used because I know the gestures of the trackpad.
Yeah, exactly. And like they have those buttons on the touch bar. So I
Right.
find that aside like if you're removing the escape key out of the touch bar, I find the touch bar is a really nice addition to the Mac. So people who complain about it, even with the escape key not on the touch bar, and they're still complaining, I wouldn't understand that because you never use the
I
function keys,
agree.
and the touch bar is so
Totally.
much more useful than just having function keys that are probably pressed once every year.
You know, the same people that complain about the touch bar are the same people that complain about the notch.
Yeah,
Legit. I'm not
exactly.
even kidding. On top of that, they've improved the warranty of the MacBook Pro, where the Apple Care now covers water damage for the first time,
Oh
and that's
wow.
incredible because my keyboard has damage of water. My trackpad, it is not as clicky as it used to be, so now I'm using an external trackpad. When I'm on my desk, I have an external trackpad, and my some of the lights of the LEDs, the backlit LEDs of my keyboard, are burnt because of that. But aside that, my laptop still works. But I do wish that I had Apple Care for like a small fee. I could maybe just get the water damage fixed. They'll probably give me a replacement unit, and I could get rid of. So that would have been nice if I had that. But
Yeah. Also,
unfortunately, I don't.
on the new MacBook Pro 16-inch, the elephant in the room that we haven't addressed is the keyboards.
Oh
They
yeah,
finally updated the keyboard now. Again, on this 13-inch 2019 MacBook Pro, I have the butterfly keyboards, and it's the newest version. I think it's Gen 4. I think it is the fourth gen
yeah. You have the
of
latest
the
update of the.
butterfly keyboard, and
You have the quiet ones with the clicker ones and with the membrane.
yeah, exactly. And I haven't had any problems. I know some people with older generations. I haven't heard anything bad about this generation, but I know that people from older generations were saying that they're irreliable and they would get dirt and crumbs inside of the key
Yep.
and it wouldn't click anymore. And I like you'd press a button and it sometimes it would double, sometimes it wouldn't work, then it would work. And actually, I went to the Apple Store a few months back and I was typing on a MacBook Air and one of the keys wasn't working. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. But
Yep.
with this keyboard, I've had it for about I think I got it in October, so like 6 months now about, and I've used it a lot. I've used it like my room is very dusty because of the bedspread I have. It creates a lot of dust, so there's like tons of dust and like
Yeah,
little
and you
particles
bedspread
that I've gotten
new
inside.
one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have. So there's like a lot of dust and little particles that have gone inside the keyboard, and I haven't had any problems with it. I know some people are complaining about the feel, how they don't like the low travel and they like more travel. I at the beginning, I wasn't too much of a fan of it, but I'm not like other people who've been typing on like mechanical keyboards for their whole life. I'm
Right,
only
right.
17, so
With
I
like an
haven't
inch of travel.
exactly. So I
you
haven't
you
really
gotta move
had
your arm to travel the key. Like you gotta go. It's like a
it's worse
train
than a
almost.
typewriter. It's like your whole arm goes down a whole foot just to press one key. But
Yeah.
so I haven't had any like real experience with those types of keyboards, and so I guess you can say I've been the keyboard I was using before was the iPad Folio keyboard, so it
Oh yeah,
wasn't any
you
better.
got used to it. You got
Yeah,
used to
so
it
I
for
got
sure.
used to trash keyboards, but I have typed on the Magic Keyboard of the new one, and it is much better. But I mean, I'm not gonna upgrade my computer for that. It's not worth it. But
Yeah. They also fixed the inverted T.
It's really nice, and
The inverted T arrows. So now they have the arrows as I do in my beloved 15-inch 2015, where instead of having the square with all the arrows mushed together, it's actually like a T that's inverted, and the left and right arrows are lower, and then on top of them there's an empty space where you could put your fingers and just like without even looking, you could like
you can
where they are.
Where the arrow keys are rather than having to look down. That's for more people who touch type, but I'm really happy that
not
they
just
upgraded.
necessarily. Like, let's say you're doing like word editing, and like you're working with your hand, and like you switch from the mouse or the trackpad to the keyboard. I could immediately feel where it is. I don't have to like look, you know. And and honestly, like when you have a workflow going on, and like you're in the zone, you know what I mean. Like in the zone, you're writing. You don't want your machine to fight against you. And like those precious seconds of concentration, maybe it's the difference between having an idea and forgetting it.
Exactly. So it's nice that they brought back the inverted T, and they got rid of the old keyboards used the butterfly mechanism, where it's like a butterfly. The switch would it's like hinged in the middle, and it would fold downwards like the wings of a butterfly. But now they went back to the scissor keys, which were the ones that they had in the 15-inch MacBook Pro from 2015. And what they have in their Magic Keyboard that they sell separately for their iMacs and stuff.
Yeah. So but I gotta add that they incorporated the improvements that they learned from the butterfly keyboard. So they do use now the new materials, the nylon reinforced stuff. So the keys are much more flexible, much more solid, much more stable and much more solid. They don't wobble as much, and they did an improvement where wherever you press on the key, whether it is from the top corner, the middle corner, the left corner, the bottom corner, or in the middle, it's the same level of depression, and you don't have the same amount of false clicks. Sometimes it will happen that I'm typing and I just click not perfectly centered on the key, and it will not register it for some reason, and that's because I didn't press it perfectly centered. And I didn't, so it didn't depress perfectly down, which is not registering a click. And now, in principle, because of the new improvements which they learned from the butterfly key, the keys, they should have resolved this issue. And overall, it's a minor improvement.
Yes, I think we've covered all the improvements.
Oh, actually, no. There's two more things. So they've massively improved the speakers. And the microphones.
The speakers, well, they say it's a studio microphone, then you can record a podcast on it, but I don't think it's as good as if you had a dedicated microphone. But
no,
it is,
of course.
it
but
is
like,
very
let's say you forget your microphone, you could make it work.
Yeah, you could make it work, and also
assuming that the room you're in is
FaceTime,
properly.
You could when you're FaceTiming your friends, they'll hear you in that crispy audio.
Yeah, exactly. Although I'm disappointed that they didn't improve the camera. They could have done something about that.
Yeah, it's still that 720p ugly potato camera.
Yeah, although I think it's a constraint that has to do with the thickness of the screen. Honestly, the screens are so thin, and I don't think they have a camera module that would fit in there. So I think they should maybe they're waiting for a new technology to arise, or a new research to materialize in the camera world, where they can make the sensors thinner and make it fit. Because honestly, like, you have the aluminum of the screen, and then you have the glass, and in between you're supposed to fit a camera, and if it's not thin, well, it won't fit. And that's probably what they're waiting for. Plastic computers are more forgiving because they have this freaking fat lip on the computers, which allows them to put better cameras. Or some dumb companies like what's it called, Dell, they put the cameras down in the bottom, which is super dumb, because it makes you. It's like doing FaceTime with the Magic keyboard case from the iPad. So you always have like this down nostril view, like.
Or it's like doing FaceTime with your phone upside down.
Or that, or when you're looking down,
It's just weird. Like, it's weird.
Honestly, I'm not that interested in looking how many nostril hairs you have. So if you really care about how your camera looks, just get like a Logitech external camera. I know they make a really nice one for the Pro Display XDR.
But I mean, like,
a 4K conference camera, and it's really nice. But if you need that kind of quality, go ahead. But most people don't have even good connections. Like even me talking to you right now, we're struggling to hit maybe 420p, right?
Exactly,
Uh,
because it's like,
sorry,
even though
we're not even hitting 480p in quality.
our cameras, our webcams have higher quality because of the streaming quality, or internet connection and everything mixed, it's lower. But I
Yeah,
mean,
and
even
there's
at
server
that,
side
like,
stuff too, huh?
why would you need to have like a 4K webcam? Like, who are you talking to, or who are you FaceTiming with your webcam, or video
Yeah,
calling, or like, I
right.
know sometimes they do conferences and stuff like that, but even, I guess, I don't know, I guess sometimes they could
Unless
be
if you're
using
like
like a
live
board,
streaming,
and I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
think unless if you're live streaming, like, or like recording yourself doing like a vlog, at this point maybe understand that, okay, you might
I
want
mean,
something
who vlogs
that's.
with their laptop?
I
People vlog
know,
with
I
their
know,
phones. Like,
I
who's
know, I
gonna
know,
be
but
like,
but
sit down in front of their laptop and vlog? I don't know.
no, but let's say like someone wants to record him talking to his computer, like
Yeah,
or
yeah. You so yeah,
I understand, but like it's nice to have. But generally speaking, overall in life and like in our current use, the mainstream use, if we could say, no one is using more like that much resolution. It is nice to have, like, like little student girls like to have, like in school, like to take pictures with whatever, a photo booth application, like with their friends. But aside that, honestly, the only time we use it is when we video chat, or when you're like looking, if your hair is combed or whatever on your computer.
exactly,
You open the FaceTime camera, look if yeah, if everything looks good, and then you close it. That's
exactly.
pretty much it.
So that's basically, also the speakers were heavily upgraded on the new computer, on the new 16
Oh
inch.
yeah. They
They
have they
used,
have a 3D spatial
yeah,
sound now.
they've used this new technology where it shoots down. They have these subwoofers that shoot down onto the desk, and that amplifies the noise, the sound a lot more. And they just upgraded them with this new thing that they did about with the subwoofers, and they just upgraded everything, like even the other parts of the speaker. And I've never actually tried the speakers at an
Yeah,
Apple
me neither.
store, but
Me neither.
from what reviewers say, it sounds like way better. Like, they say it's a noticeable difference from the old 15 inch. So I've never tried it myself, and I've never compared them, but from what YouTubers say, credible YouTubers, they say that you can tell a difference, which is nice that they worked on the audio of the laptop, because you don't really see too many companies doing that, I guess. But it's nice that they focused on the speakers, the built-in speakers.
Yep. The thing I'm really impressed by is how they're applying what they learned with the AirPods. Sorry, not the AirPods, the HomePods. Where they're resonating the two subwoofers at different frequencies, so it doesn't create this like vibration sound with your laptop. And because both of them are resonating in different frequencies, it like eliminates the vibration. So if you're touching a computer, you will feel the vibration, the thump of the bass, but it'll not vibrate like the internal components to the point where they start rattling and then doing this like sound,
And loosen
which
up
is.
all your parts.
Yeah, that too. Well, I think they rivet everything, glue everything together. But even with that done, you might like dislodge some welds with time, and that's not cool. Honestly,
Yeah, especially
it's
like
better
with
to have.
music nowadays, that's all rap. And
Yeah,
people are gonna be like flipping their computers over with all that bass. No, I'm joking. But
yeah,
yeah, so it's nice that they put some effort into the built-in speakers, because usually
totally.
laptops don't have good built-in speakers, because if anything, people get external speakers for their laptops, or they're always use them with headphones. But it's nice that the YouTubers have said that it's one of the best speakers in a laptop. So,
Yeah, if not the best.
if not the best, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Moving
Apple
on.
likes speakers and audio, so we're just waiting for them to make some Pro Pods, like over-ear headphones, and like a dedicated speaker. Well, I mean, they do own
Yep.
Beats, but that's
Yep.
different. So
Moving
moving on,
on.
exactly.
Move, yeah. Moving
iPads.
on. They actually. I'd like to speed up to MacBook Air and keep iPads for later, the iPad Pro, because a lot of what we just talked about is very transferable to the MacBook Air. So the same kinds of
Yes.
refinements that happened in the MacBook Pro came to the MacBook Air, so they upgraded the performance. So now you have the 10th generation Intel chips, which have been long awaited for like many years. Finally, they're down from 14 nanometers to 10 nanometers, which is finally happened. They also improved the keyboard. The Magic Keyboard is there.
Yes, it's the same keyboard that they put on the 16-inch.
Yeah, exactly. Speakers and microphones are also improved, not the same quality as the MacBook Pro. And now, as of now, the MacBook Air is the only device with no touch bar. So if you just want a simple device that is cheap and no touch bar, that's the one to go for. I think a lot of writers which do use MacBook Airs will appreciate that, since they fixed the keyboard and it has no touch bar. And those are the kind of people that complain about that stuff. So props to them. Besides that, it's
the same computer. The display's the same. Everything's exactly. Display's the same.
You get more storage. You get
they
more for your storage and
the CPUs and slapped on a new keyboard.
4-core option as well.
Yes, instead of dual core, which I think it's the first time in the MacBook Air's history that they put a 4-core option.
Also, the Mac Mini, just a quick update on that one. That, like, honestly, it's just a spec update, for very minimal spec update. RAM is better and cheaper, and that's pretty much it.
Which it's nice that they're upgrading the Mac Mini, because from 2012 to 2018, was it, or 2014 to 2018, it wasn't upgraded. So, it was the same thing. So now I guess every 2 years they're just putting in a better chip in there, which it's nice to see that Apple still is not letting their products fall to the wayside, which it looked like they were.
But honestly, I have a lot of thoughts about the Mac Mini. Like, I think they could make it from an okay device, because it's not the best device in the world. You could get way better value from anything else. They could turn it from an okay device to a really good device if they made it slightly thicker with a bigger heatsink and a dedicated GPU. Like, not even like a super crazy dedicated GPU, maybe just a 5500.
It has integrated.
Yeah, it has integrated, but it's like the Intel stuff, and so it's like pretty much used.
Yeah, it's basically a laptop at that point without a screen.
So if they just make it slightly thicker with a bigger fan and a heatsink and an actual GPU, like a real GPU, maybe just a mobile version, I don't care, but at least it has one. Mac Mini
isn't the best Mac.
Yeah. It has its very good benefits, but it has a lot of potential. Maybe we could discuss about this later.
I think instead of buying a Mac Mini, it would be better to just go with like a base iMac or something. But
right.
I mean, because you have to think with the Mac Mini, you have to buy a screen, where the base iMac comes with one built in. But that's a topic for another day.
You need to buy the peripherals, because the Mac Mini doesn't come with any of the peripherals.
Exactly. Whereas the iMac does. The iMac does.
So unless if you need like a just standalone device for like a media center,
or a server or something.
Yeah, a server. The Mac Mini is like a device.
It's basically a server computer. They use them. A lot of servers have them, but it's Apple's server computer.
Or home servers for let's say if you want to manage some home storage, you connect like a rack mount storage device to it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's pretty much it.
It's not. Exactly. It's not. If you're buying it for everyday computing, it's not the best. Yeah. So Apple came out with new iPads. Amazing devices. I know it's tempting. It's tempting to. It's pulling us back into the iPad realm. I mean, I left it already.
And it is amazing. I want one. Look, Apple is creating into me tech lust. You have forsaken the iPad ways for a while now, but I feel like it's pulling you back again, and you have like this desire to go back, because what they did is they took the paradigm of the iPad and like changed it. They took what Microsoft was trying to do with the Surface and spit on their face and made something way better.
Yeah, like basically.
The Surface is good because it has a keyboard and trackpad, but the angles suck. The device itself has a fan, which is stupid, because like the iPads Pros don't have a fan, and they perform way better and don't overheat. The screens on the Surfaces are pitiful because they have the biggest bezels I've ever seen in my life. The pen doesn't attach magnetically or charges magnetically, which is stupid. except for the Surface X.
Pro Surface, yeah, the Surface X.
Yeah, the Surface X Pro X, but the Surface Pro X is stupid because it's running desktop Windows, but it's running an ARM chip, so every application is not optimized. And so basically, Microsoft hasn't succeeded to make a competitive device to Apple, except that it has a mouse.
And
now-
also it runs
now Apple-
full-fledged Windows on it. It doesn't run a mobile software.
Yeah, but they're not powerful. That's the problem.
No,
And if
they're
you
not.
if you do anything even approaching a pro workload, the battery is gonna just like say I quit. Like
I
"Oh,
didn't
please.
sign up for this.
I can't do this. I can't. But I do give credit to Microsoft that they actually persevered in an age where like Samsung and Google and every other company that makes tablets, they just like said whatever, man.
Yeah,
It's
like
all
our
it's all
tablet
yours.
is our tablet, and like our
Yeah.
phone is our phone. But
Yeah, and they
no
do
one
seem to be
really merged
popular.
it.
They do seem to be popular with some students and some people that
Yeah,
actually
you see,
need it.
you actually do see surfaces around, but
Yeah. I do respect the concept. I have tried it. The keyboards are fine, the one with it. Although I think the concept overall is flawed, especially with the kickstand, which is kind of dumb. I hate the
yeah,
kickstand.
that's it doesn't work too well. You don't get nice angles.
And it's supremely thick, which is very disappointing and has really bad audio. But like overall, I think it's a really good device. And like if you like Windows and you don't want an Apple device and you're stuck with like that
That's
ecosystem.
the best alternative to an iPad. Like if you don't want iOS, or you want to, like some people want to have a tablet, but they also want to be able to use this as the like main computer.
Yeah,
So
like coding
I guess
and stuff like that.
It's the perfect mix. You can use it. You can use Microsoft Word and everything. You can have a full-fledged keyboard and
Microsoft
mouse
Word
and
now
all
is
that
pretty much
stuff.
available on, but Microsoft is available on iPad.
Yeah, it is.
See, that's the problem because more and more they're becoming compatible. All these applications, Photoshop, all that stuff is getting to the iPad. So more and more the distinctions between them is getting blurred, and people are realizing that, and that's how Apple really made the iPad Pro better. And I just gotta say, like they didn't just make the new iPad Pro better by like let's go over the specs quickly because I feel like we're jumping in the topic without introducing it properly. Feel free to jump in whenever if ever I forgot a spec. So let's say the camera, it comes with a 3-camera setup. One of the cameras is a LiDAR camera, so it improves any work that has to do with 3D graphics or AI, what's it called, artificial intelligence, whatever, like what's it called, VR
AR
stuff,
augmented
AR.
reality. But to be honest, I don't really find a use for that. Like if I had
honestly,
that,
it's very
wouldn't
niche.
even use
I
it,
feel
but-
like it's introducing something for the future. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why Apple's using it. Maybe they're putting it in the iPad in order to create a
Future-proof or
technology
something.
in the technology. Maybe they're testing something that has to do with the camera, including that the LiDAR uses the camera to focus or whatever, and to
or maybe
detect-
portrait mode or something like that. It helps out with
right,
like
right.
the 3D
because
mapping.
it does allow depth perception because
It
it's
does.
LiDAR.
It does.
Because so essentially, for those who don't know what LiDAR is the main technology that allows Teslas to know their surroundings around them. LiDAR is basically a light radar. It could detect how far the light is coming from and how does it bounce off every surface. So it could create like a frame of what the world looks around you. So for those who watched the movie Daredevil and remember how Daredevil sees with supersonic hearing, that's basically what it looks like. This is what the camera sees. It sees like a wireframe overall look of the world. It doesn't see precisely. It just it could see depth very well. And I feel like they're implementing this in the iPads because they want to create software for it and developers to start working on it so that when the iPhones come out with it, it's ready and it's ready to be used. And they've done this before in the past, and it's not the first time. And honestly, asides this, the iPad is pretty much the same. Not much has changed overall of the iPad, and the bigger improvements come from the keyboard case.
Yeah, exactly. So aside from the camera upgrade, they upgraded the chip which they do with every generation.
It's a super
They made
minor.
it.
It's not even a real upgrade. It's just
Yeah,
I think it's like a compatibility improvement for like anything that has to do with AR AI.
Yeah, it's not. It's like if you're not upgrading to this iPad if you have the first gen of the boxy one, the one that came out
Right.
last December, like or whatever October. You're not upgrading from that one. But it's nice to see that they're improving it and they added the nicer cameras. But I don't know who's taking pictures with their iPad. I mean, it's nice that it has a nice camera, but
you know the students that want to take a picture in class. He just tilts it and takes a picture of the screen. At least now it has like a zoom camera or a ultra wide.
it has ultra wide, which is worse. Like if I'm a student, I want to zoom in.
Yeah, but it has a telephoto and the ultra wide, like the iPhone 11.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So from that, I could probably say that it's fine. Let's say you want to take a picture, you want to scan a picture of an assignment sheet or whatever.
It'll work better with the LiDAR.
It would be a lot better with the LiDAR, but with the ultra wide as well, because you could do it from a short distance. Yes. You don't have to stand up to do it, so you can do it from a short distance.
Yeah, that'll help.
That's cool. So I can't complain really, honestly. Like it's a minor improvement. If you would have asked me right now, what can you do to improve the iPad? I couldn't tell you. Like
no,
legit, they achieved
peak
iPad.
It peaked.
Peak iPad.
And so I guess the only improvements could be on the software side. iPad OS is great as it is, and I haven't used it. I got rid of my iPad as soon as it came out. But I guess the only thing you can do is software. Because I know that was a little bit of a stumbling block when it came to the older iPad. Right. But now that they added the, now with iPad OS and now that they added the trackpad to the case, the folio case, I guess it changes things. But I have a question. I haven't done too much research on it. I looked at the press release and everything. But my question is, does the new folio case, is it backwards compatible with last year's iPad?
Actually, it is. Yes. So the new iPad case works with last year's, the 2018. Last year's 2019. No, it's 2018.
Yeah, it was. Right? I think October 2018.
2018. Yeah, 2018. And so it's compatible with them, but the 2018 cases don't work with the new ones because the camera is bigger.
Because the camera, exactly. So if you do get the new keyboard with the older iPad, you'll just have a bigger camera cutout than what you actually have.
Yeah, and it's fine, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, you're not going to upgrade your whole iPad just because.
But it is nice because it'll make you feel like you have a new device. And
yeah, I will.
Honestly, like it's the new keyboard that makes the device all the more better.
Yeah, exactly.
So like why? Let's cover why this keyboard is so great. Well, first of all, it's the same old like keyboard that they had prior.
I just want to add one little thing before we start changing the topic. I would buy the older 2018 iPad rather than buying the new one because they're probably cheaper now. So, because it's the same thing, I mean, the camera, you rarely use the camera on the iPad. So I guess like if you're looking for an iPad Pro, I wouldn't recommend going with the new ones unless you really want that new camera, and just go with the older ones and buy the new keyboard case.
Yeah, totally. So you'll save a few $100 maybe that way. Maybe you could opt in. Actually, there is a difference now. I think 6 gigabytes of RAM comes standard across all of the iPads.
Rather than 4 and 6 before, right? I think it was.
Before you had to opt in. You had to opt in for the 1 terabyte storage to get the 6 gigabytes.
To get the 6 gigs, or I think the 12.9 inch came with the 6 gigs also.
No, it was 4 as well.
Oh, it was 4 also. Oh well.
Yeah, so you had to really opt in for the. So it had to be the 12.9 inch, and 1 terabyte.
Wow.
For you to get this extra 6. So now it comes standard, which is nice because it's making it more and more competitive with the service. Yes. But honestly, to go back to what makes this keyboard great, first of all, it has an actual keyboard, like an actual like I'm not sure what kind of keyboard it has. It might have a butterfly keyboard or some version of it. I'm not sure, which I don't really appreciate. But that being said, it's yet to be determined because no one has had their hands on these keyboards. So it might be a thinner Magic keyboard for all of we know. Maybe it's not a butterfly keyboard. But and the nice thing about it is it has a trackpad on the bottom of the keyboard. It's not a big trackpad, but as far as I could tell, it's a force touch trackpad, which is amazing.
Wow. On
And
a folio case, that's insane.
that too. So, but it's small, so it's nothing crazy. It's even
Yeah.
smaller than my 15-inch trackpad. So
And
and
is
mine is
and I would imagine it's even smaller on the 11-inch iPad.
no. Both of them are the same size
Oh,
because
so wow.
the way that the keyboard folds, and that's the other way that's really cool. Now instead of folding with like origami thing, it has two hinges. So one hinge is like around the middle of the iPad, which allows to tilt the iPad like like a iMac display, right?
Yes.
And
From
another
the
one
middle.
is,
Yeah.
and then there's another hinge on the bottom, connecting the two slabs of the case. So the one that covers the front and one that covers the back. There's like this hinge, and on this hinge there's a port as well, and this hinge allows it to put the iPad closer or further from you. So there's two levels of variability. So it's honestly like when I saw this, I thought it was just like some kind of cinematic display of the keyboard like floating. But then it dawned on me, no, it's actually the keyboard case that like you got to see the picture how it looks like. And like when I saw this at first, I thought it was just like you know, Apple's doing some fancy camera work. They just found this like cool angle to put the iPad. It's not really floating. And then I started reading about it. I'm like, wait, it does float. What? Serious?
Yeah.
What? And
It's
I was really shocked because that changes everything. Like honestly, I've been struggling a lot with the camera angles, with the iPad, especially when you do conference calls or whatever, and as I alluded to earlier, on purpose, by the way. Also, viewing angles. Sometimes the sun is shining in a weird way where you want to move the angle of the iPad, but you can't because like they only give you one or two positions of angles. Like I think when you bought yours, you had only two presets, right?
yeah, there
Two,
were two.
two. So one is like when you're laying down and you want to type while having the iPad on your stomach. It's really steep, and one that's really angled, and it's kind of annoying if you have a high chair or a low chair. There's like no in between,
Yeah,
and this one
it
here
was hard
is
to
like
find a good spot.
literally infinitely adjustable.
It's like
Another
a
nice thing,
laptop almost.
almost, but like kind of better, I think. It's like if they stole the idea of the keyboard from Microsoft, but instead of putting the hinge on the bottom lip of the device, they put it in the back and made the hinge bigger. And let's say it looks like a mini iMac.
Yeah,
It looks like a mini iMac. I wouldn't be surprised if the iMac looks like this in some way. Legit.
for sure. I'm sure they took the design from the iMac
Because
and
it's super clean. Like I wouldn't expect it. Like you tell me like how can they improve the iPad? I'm like, okay, they could add a mouse, but like it's not that adding the mouse makes the iPad better. It's like how do you add the mouse in a way where it is functional, it makes it look good. It's you don't need to, like this thing doesn't even need recharging. You got to understand that the keyboard doesn't have batteries inside. It's connected via the iPad. So if the iPad dies, then your keyboard dies, and you won't need to use it. And on top of that, they doubled the I/O. That's crazy, bro.
yeah, that's crazy.
And if you check out the tutorial of Craig Federighi did a tutorial for The Verge about how to use a trackpad, and the way they implemented in the next version of the OS, which is 13.4, which is coming soon. We'll talk about that later because there's things coming that we really were looking forward to in that update. So what that update enables for the iPad at least is first of all, cursor support is no longer an accessibility feature, but actually Apple recognized it as an actual feature. So they did impress us by doing this, and they never announced this. This is just like, oh, you know what? We decided to work on this, and it worked out so well that we're just going to release it to the public right now. We're not going to wait. This is like this kind of feature. This feature wasn't even announced to come later back in WWDC, right?
No,
Remember?
it was.
They
It
didn't
was
even
just.
announce that
They
stuff.
didn't even
Like,
talk about it.
right. Not, it wasn't even like a headline. Like sometimes they have headlines on the like the PowerPoint, but they don't discuss it. But
It was
this wasn't even,
completely secret.
no one even knew about it. So and so if you go in the settings, there's like tons of like settings to to customize how you want to use the mouse, or whatever you want to call it. And now actually for once we could say click on the iPad because there's actually a mouse. Before it was touch,
It's
right?
true. It's
So now
true.
you could say click. Now you could say click, and there's like tons of ways we could customize how the iPad interacts, the mouse interacts with the iPad and how it clicks. So let's say the cursor of the mouse, like on the computer, you have like this little finger arrow thing. Well, on the iPad, you have this little circle, and when the circle goes on top of like a button that you could actually click, well, the circle becomes dimmer, and the button that you could actually click becomes opaque, where the border of it becomes like grayish or becomes darker, signalizing that you could actually click, which is super nice. And it's like, if you check the animations, I recommend it because it is so smooth the way they did it. And like when quick like I'm excited right now because um like I don't know if you could tell, but like when I saw the demo, I was like supremely impressed.
Now,
They
I only
got
have a question. Already the keyboard on the 11-inch iPad was small, and I was taking up like the whole size of the folio case. How is the size of the keyboard on the 11-inch iPad?
Yeah,
Like,
it's better.
is it
It's better.
miniature, or
No,
is it
it's
the
better
same size as
because
the old one?
because it doesn't have to. The bottom of the iPad doesn't have to stick on the keyboard anymore. There's this gap, and so this allows two things. First of all, the keyboard to being bigger. So the keyboard are actually like properly sized now. That's a benefit. Secondly, because the keyboard is elevated in relation, the iPad is elevated in relation to the keyboard, there is no more of these accidental touches of the screen when you're typing. You know,
Yes. Okay, I see.
when your fingers moving, you just hit it by accident, and then that moves your cursor or moves the pages or close the page. Remember those?
Yes.
Those were
Yes.
annoying, right? Well,
Yeah.
no more of these. So that fixes two things. And can I just mention again, because I know I already said it like a few times, but it has a second USB port.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And the way it's placed, the place where it's placed, it's so convenient. Remember you hanging your dongles off of your iPad on the
Yeah.
side and just
Yeah.
hanging? Well, now you don't have to do that anymore. You can just hang it right there. Like it's like sitting flush on the table. You don't have to worry about that. Yes, it's a dongle, but at least now you have two ports. You could charge with one and then put any information through the other, like any SSD
Yes.
or whatever SD card. So that's good. Um, I'm not sure about that, but uh, apparently they I don't know if it's a new feature, but apparently the screen is less reflective than before, and it's brighter.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
sure. I'm not sure if it's if your iPad was 600 nits
I don't
or is that
remember.
a new thing.
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
I'm looking quickly at the website because I can't remember. I think the camera and the RAM is the only difference. There's actually a nice preview. I might use it as a show note or a album art picture, so you could see what it looks like with the lidar vision. What?
I'm looking at it right now, and wow, the keyboard is really nice. They say it's a full-size keyboard
Yep.
with 1 millimeter. It has a scissor mechanism with 1 millimeter travel.
Oh, okay, it's a scissor mechanism.
It's a scissor.
It's a magic keyboard.
Wow, and has 1 millimeter travel. So it has the travel of the magic of the butterfly, but it's the mechanism of the scissor. That's amazing,
All
and it's
right, so
full
that's great.
size. So I guess it's the size of the MacBook one because they're all the same
Nice.
size. That's incredible.
All right, I'm impressed. Like overall, I'm really impressed with what happened there. Um,
Oh, and I see how the trackpad works, or how the mouse thing works. Okay, that's actually really cool the way it works.
yeah. The nice thing about the mouse cursor is when you go over text, it switches to the line, the editing line, and so that makes it easier to drag and drop text over the page, highlight, um, and modify like the bold, italic, underscore. Like you could do all that stuff like way easier, and that's like what we all needed. The wireless charging of the mouse is still the pencil is still the same. I would like to see how it works with the pencil, And honestly, to me, it seems that they're using a different material. Like the plastic is not the same. If you look at
Uh,
the picture of the case, it seems like it's more of a rigid
yes,
plastic.
it looks different. The other one was like a
Like it's like
cloth
fake leather
almost.
plastic.
It
Yeah,
was like a cloth, and the inside was like a cloth, and the outside was like yeah, exactly, like a fake leather type of plastic thing. But this looks more, it looks more rigid. And honestly, I'm looking at the keyboard, and it's incredible because the old keyboard, they're really small keys, and they were like on this, they were like they had that clothy feel, and
yeah.
it was strange. I didn't really like it. Like the cloth
This is an
covered
actual
the
keyboard.
keys. The cloth
Yeah,
covered the keys, and it's like they were small keys. There was a button in the middle, and the key would like wobble all around when you're typing. But this, like it looks like I'm looking at the keyboard, and I'm looking at my Mac keyboard, and it looks the same. It's incredible.
yeah. Actually, it mentions on the product page for the keyboard that it is a Magic keyboard, an actual Magic keyboard. Now, I think that's going to be confusing because there is actually other Magic keyboards, um, and it might cause confusion. But that's beyond the point. They have to. Apple has never been good about naming
Nope.
things.
No.
Logically speaking, not really. They have good names for stuff, but they don't name. Then when they iterate on names, they don't do it logically. It seems that the trackpad is actually made of glass. It's not tiny, but it's not huge. I'm looking at the. I don't know if you could go to the product page of the keyboard. There's actually one for that. Um, and also
Oh, they have. Okay, let me go check it. They
yeah.
have a
So
product page for the for just the folio.
no. It's so if you press on the apple.ca or the apple.com, click on iPad
Okay, yeah, I see.
on the
Oh, they
tab,
even have an
and then
Apple logo on the back. That's cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
So you have a really good view of what it looks like and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And they even have because the like the iPad Air uses the old keyboard, the old folio style case, and they have a picture of the new one next to the old one, and the old one looks so
yeah,
ugly compared to the new one. It's
can I
incredible.
also mention that the keyboard is backlit?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's a completely full fledged keyboard. It's incredible, and
I
your
know.
iPad is floating. That's incredible. That's so cool.
And I realized that like we kind of sound crazy because we're like raving over the keyboard, but like you gotta understand that like the keyboard makes the whole difference about how you interact with the iPad. If your interaction, the way you interact with a device is no good, then the device is no good because the way of interacting with it is hard. Let's say, imagine that the Apple Pencil you could only use it in like certain circumstances when it's like laying down completely flat on a table. You gotta make sure that table is not wobbling and it's completely flat. Like that would make it completely unusable and people wouldn't appreciate it, right?
Yeah,
Like if you add a lot of constraints, the whole point of technology being usable and useful and appreciated is that the constraints are eliminated and to the point where the constraints actually become benefits.
yeah,
If you could take a constraint and turn it into a benefit, meaning I'm going to give a concrete example. Um, One of the drawbacks of the iPad is that the screen is not that big, which results into a keyboard not being that big because you don't want to have Apple is not going to design a keyboard case that is bigger than the overall size of the iPad.
yes,
And so far they've been limited by it because they only have a certain amount of space to work with with the keyboard. So basically the keyboard was really tiny and really compacted. Now because it's hinged and it's floating on top of the keyboard, they could make the keyboard bigger. So they have overcame this constraint. And this is why it makes it a good design. On top of that, they added functionality, which is another port. That is another barrier that was there. Having one port, because now more and more you could buy like let's say a USB card, a USB key that has USB-C on it.
yes,
That's possible, even if you don't have a dongle. And now you could charge via that way. There's a lot of like let's say audio interfaces that have USB-C ports. Like I think about the Universal Audio Arrow. Everything runs on USB-C.
yeah,
Let's say you want to plug, I don't know, a Rode microphone. They have
exactly. If
USB-C
you
on.
want to like podcast off of it or
Right.
record something, and I even
So
like the place where they put it on the hinge. It's a really smart place.
right, or let's say you want to charge your iPad while listening to music. or you want to charge your headphones, and you want to charge your device in the same time. You could do both now.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a dongle anymore.
Just there's a little issue with this whole keyboard folio thing, the new trackpad. There's a little issue with it. It's the pricing.
Yeah,
for, for the 11-inch, it's $300 US. It's $300 for the 11-inch. For the 12-inch, it's $350 US. Like,
I know, it's expensive, but look,
that's like
the Magic Keyboard,
$450 Canadian.
the regular Magic Keyboard, like the actual Magic Keyboard. Like, remember when I bought when I told you that I'm gonna buy iPad Pro, and I bought the 10.5-inch iPad Pro, the second gen,
Yes.
and I told you that I didn't want to buy the Magic Keyboard because I didn't like the keyboard. It doesn't feel good, and like I don't want it to wear off, and I was annoyed by it because there's no angles. So I ended up making my own system. I bought my own like stand thing and my own keyboard, and like I made my own contraption. It worked out pretty well, but it was still annoying because I had to charge my keyboard every once in a while, which is not that great, but it's still fine. Whatever. Okay, I'm not gonna complain about that because the battery of the keyboard is pretty good. Still, I have to turn it on manually, and if I forget it on, it just clicks and then it starts turning on stuff on my iPad if I forget it, which is kind of annoying. The keyboard case doesn't fold perfectly, so let's say I have a small desk at school. It's just taking precious space on my desk because the keyboard doesn't close flushly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It
I
takes up more space on your desk.
I have to like start organizing my desk at school instead of
And
listening
you're
to
like
the teacher.
shuffling your books and everything.
Yeah. Whereas in the iPad, it's super cool with the Magic keyboard case.
Yeah,
I'm
and the
gonna refer
fact
to it
that
as
it's
Magic
floating too is like you can have as a perfect angle.
Yeah, I feel like it gives you like a place to get it from, so you could remove it from the case. So if you want to start writing on it,
Yeah, exactly.
overall, it's like it's enabling possibilities that were not there before. You're not fighting with your stuff anymore. Like for me, the worst thing that you could have with tech or any device that I want to use on the daily to be productive is fighting against it.
Well, the reason why I went from the iPad to the Mac is because I was fighting with the iPad all the time. Like all my assignments are online, and sometimes I'd have to do some online research and whatever. And like like I would sometimes look for some help online, and just browsing the web, opening up new tabs and all that stuff on the iPad isn't the best. And with that keyboard, the viewing angles with the old folio, the iPad worked great, but the fact that you always had to switch an app, and the fact that like web browsing and all that stuff and everything was with your finger, I didn't really enjoy that too much because it's like I want to try to type, so now I have to touch physically with my finger the search bar on the display. So like I'm typing or I'm writing down solutions on my paper, and then I have to like let go of my pen or whatever, and then go and reach up to the display and touch the search bar. Whereas with the Mac, with the trackpad and the mouse, it's a lot easier. Like you just obviously go to the trackpad and you do whatever you have to do. And I just found it. And when I got the Mac, I'm like, I don't even know how I used to do it on the iPad. It was so much easier to do web research and just to type things and to plug in my answers and all that stuff. And in class and taking notes, I was sad because I'm taking math classes and physics classes. I have to write down by hand. I can't type out formulas and all these solutions that my teacher writes down.
It's doable, but harder.
Yeah, but also you have to be really, really good at using all these like these like keyboard type of like tricks and everything to get down the right symbols. So I just do it by hand. I mean, everybody in the class also does it by hand. So with the iPad, it was nice because all my notes were on the iPad, and I didn't have to bring a notebook. And I just brought my iPad. It was my notebook. It was my research device. It was everything. But now I have the notebooks, and I have the Mac. But I still found it more productive and easier to do work. Like I would almost. It was weird. It was a strange feeling. I would almost start getting like tired of using. I would start getting a feeling of tiredness because like the iPad it wouldn't flow. Like there would be a lot of hindrances. It would be a lot of blocks in my work. Whereas with the Mac, it's a lot easier and it flows a lot better. So I was really happy when I got my Mac, I'm like, I don't even know how I was doing it with the iPad. I was sad about the
Yeah,
notes
totally.
feature that I lost. But now with this new keyboard and this new case, it changes everything. And the fact that you have a pointer device now and that searching the web is a lot easier. And the fact that the keyboard is an actual keyboard, it'll make typing a lot nicer and a lot of a better experience. And it just overall creates the iPad more like a Mac, and for my use case, would have actually been better than the Mac. Like this new iPad with the new keyboard, for what I use it for right now. In the future, I will start coding, so I needed a Mac anyways. But for my use case right now in the classes I'm doing, the new iPad with the new keyboard would serve me better than my Mac, which up till now my Mac was serving me better than the iPad. But it just goes to show you how big an improvement this is to the iPad and how much better they made their product.
Yep. And I remember telling you as much, like I told you, like, look, Daniel, if you're gonna buy an iPad, you gotta know that any like real research, you're gonna need a computer.
Yes, I remember when you told me.
And at the time, I remember that you told me, like, you know what, for now I don't need it, and I don't need to do any research, which was true. And that's one of the problems with the iPad, because the keyboard and the mouse and the interface was not mature yet. And I feel like now it's better. It's not going to be perfect so far. It's going to take maybe another year or two for it to be on par with the laptop.
Yeah.
But as long as you opt for like the 12-inch, the 12.9-inch, if we opt for one like that, and you could probably start getting stuff done on it. And I'm looking forward to start testing this and start using it, because I really do miss having the iPad, and like a lot of use cases, the portability of it, the sheer versatility of it. Like it was so like um, usable in like diverse situations and diverse environments. And I feel like with this new keyboard, it will enable us to a new level where you could use it to a point where you weren't able to achieve before, and be productive with it to a point where you weren't before. And especially with the paradigm of the Apple Pencil. But I also remember also telling you that, when you switch from touch to keyboard, there's a paradigm shift that goes on in your brain. And you have not having a mouse doesn't it's not helping you overcome the paradigm shift between using your finger on a touch based interface, if we could say, versus a keyboard and mouse based interface. And now I feel like Apple is understanding that we have to do both in the same time, but not in the way that Microsoft did it, because Microsoft honestly tried to make Windows 8 touchable,
Yeah,
and tried
that
to
was
make
like
and
one
tried to
of the
make
worst
and it's still
decisions they've
trying to
made.
make and still trying to make Windows 10 touchable. And honestly, it's not gonna work. There's still a lot of things you can't even do with touching. Like my dad has this ThinkPad that you could use with touch. It's utterly useless. Like aside scrolling, which is kind of cool, but it's still sloppy. I still prefer a trackpad, because first of all, the scrolling is not smooth. It's super grainy, and it doesn't have any acceleration. Whereas in the trackpad, I could do better acceleration. I could go really fast, and I could speed up. I could stop it really well. And on top of that, you have all these smudges on the screen, which is super nasty.
Exactly.
I
I
hate
was
that.
gonna say that. Like, I like keeping my screen like completely free of dust and completely free of fingerprints. So like, I try
Yeah,
my best not to touch it with my finger, and if I do, I wipe it off as soon as I get a
yeah. And it
microfiber.
seems
And like, if I'm scrolling with my finger on the display, like your display is gonna become disgusting. And I don't know, if you're using a touch on, I find like a laptop is not made to be used like touch. If you want touch, get a Surface, get an iPad, get something like that. But if don't use a laptop for touch. Where in a way his computer is cool because the screen does fold back completely, and it's like leaning on the back body of the laptop. So you can use it
yeah,
as a
but it's
tablet
not.
in that way, but you're still using Windows 10.
It has a Wacom pen inside, like inside the body, which like a Galaxy Note, and you could remove the pen and start using it. There like legit. I tried to use it around the interface. Like in the iPad, you could use the pencil to do everything you want. You could click around the user interface. It seems like in Microsoft, the pen is only designed to be used in like paintbrush and like those applications specialized for it. The pen cannot be used as a mouse. That is dumb. Like why would you reserve the use of the whatever electronic pen that you have in an interface? Like the first thing when
But
Apple said that you could use the Apple Pencil to navigate the user interface, I was like, that's brilliant. Because let's say I don't want to touch the screen, I could use the pen.
but I find the thing is that because Windows 10 is designed to be used with the mouse, it's harder to integrate a pen usage because like if you're I don't know, I just find it's harder to integrate a pen usage because the iPad is designed to be used with your finger. It's designed to be used as a touch interface. So you're substituting what you're doing with the Apple Pencil is you're substituting your finger for the pencil. So the pencil is acting as if as a finger, whereas to substitute the pencil or the pen as a mouse on Windows is harder because to simulate a mouse, you're like simulating a mouse with your finger, whereas the pencil is just acting as a basically like let's say a sixth finger. But
Yeah.
whereas it's different, it's a lot harder. There are a lot more complicated things that you can do with a mouse that'll be harder to do with a pencil in your hand than on the iPad where you're just simulating your finger.
Yeah. The way I see it is Windows has a lot of like catching up to do compared to iPad, especially with the latest revelations.
Yeah, like Windows is not made for touch. It's designed to be used with a mouse, and it should be used with a mouse. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be touch. But look,
They've been
if
trying for a
people
long
find
time to
uses
do
with it,
both.
I mean, I had a friend in a calculus class that had a HP computer. I don't know which one it was, and it was one of those where you could flip the screen back. So he would prop up his screen, and he had a pen, and he would write down all his notes on his laptop, but like writing on the screen. So there are people who find uses. They're more niche, but there are people who find uses for the touchscreen and the pen on these laptops. But mainstream, it's not. It's not mainstream.
Right. And look, what Apple just did by doing that is they suddenly snuck up on Microsoft. As far as Microsoft knew, Apple was a long ways of developing full support of touch in a really great manner and mouse in a great manner. As far as I could tell with the previews from Fred Kurderigi showing how it works, I'm going to put the links from that for that preview of how the touch works in the show notes. The way he showed it, it's instantly smooth. It carries over the gestures of the trackpad from the Mac back to the iPad, which is supremely great because essentially the same actions that you use your hands with on the screen of the iPad, now you could do them on the trackpad. And that's why Mac is so great. It's even though the trackpad is just a simple trackpad, it's just that it recognizes gestures of your fingers so well. It feels like you're actually touching the screen without having to touch the screen. And so it brings the connection of the plain keyboard paradigm the paradigm where you use the keyboard and the trackpad concept and context and implementing those gestures completes it in a manner. If I don't want to be too poetic about it because it is what it is. It's like nothing crazy, but it hasn't been done yet in that manner. And just in the same way that it works super well, like even no one complains about how the gestures works on Mac. Actually, it's one of the things that none of the other companies have been able to replicate. How well the trackpad is implemented and it complements the ecosystem. When I go to study in coffee places. Sorry, I'm gonna cough right there. I've been talking a lot.
Yeah.
Take a sip of water.
With your metal straw, don't break your teeth.
Yeah, that's it. That's an inside joke. I don't think we were recording when we said that.
No, I don't think so.
We'll have to explain later. I go to coffee shops and I look at people and I look at these people that have like these thick HP laptops and all those like computers. And for some reason, they're always carrying around this like mouse, this Logitech mouse, this Microsoft mouse, this whatever mouse. And like I'm looking at them. It's like, yeah, you save money by buying this computer, but you'll have to buy mice for the rest of your life. You'll lose this mouse. You're gonna have frustrations because you have to buy batteries for these mouse if they're not rechargeable. If they're not rechargeable, you'll have to suffer by using this mediocre trackpad that you have on your computer and the clicky thing. So,
And
well,
a lot of those trackpads have like buttons on the top
right,
that like you have to
yeah.
press if you want to click with the mouse. There's
Yeah,
like a
it's like
button on the
the
top.
ThinkPads. The ThinkPads. I'm telling you, like the worst thing on the like the ThinkPad has this nice thing where it has buttons on top and the bottom. But bro, like seriously, like why don't you make the trackpad a really nice clickable trackpad like the Mac? Like even before they went to Force Touch, Macs had really nice trackpads. They call it the diving board trackpad. It was done well. It wasn't the best one because of course the bottom was less clicky than the top, and you had to press harder on certain spots, and it wasn't pressing evenly. It was good. It was still good. Like even when back in the days when at school I used to use the white MacBook Pros, the unibody white plastic ones. Um, I honestly the thing I enjoyed the most is how well the keyboard was clicky, and it was just a regular clicky trackpad. I was surprised that there was no buttons. I'm like, yeah, it took me a while to get used to it, but when I used it, I'm like, wow, this is actually better.
Yeah.
And back then I used to hate on Apple. Like and I didn't understand it. I used to believe like, okay, Apple was only good at making phones and that's pretty much it. But eventually I found out I was wrong. Uh, the, I didn't understand the concept back then. And it's the same way. Like they've implemented what is best. We've spoken about this. They're Macifying the iPad, and
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
they're iOSing the Mac. They're taking because they did have many different groups of people working on different platforms. So you had these different groups working on. There was a group working on iPhone, and the group that worked on iPhone was like completely different and isolated from the one working on Mac. And for many years they've been working in their own separate corners and doing their own things, and they developed these like unique ideas from both sides. And more Apple is like, okay, now that you've done your works in isolation, now you need to combine both of your work. You're we're going to take the best of what both of you have figured out, and we're going to implement it in those in across the devices. So we're going to enable like this airdrop feature everywhere, and it's going to be great. And we're going to do this across everywhere. It's going to be great. We're going to sync everything to the cloud. It's going to be great. Like not just on iPhone where you synchronize your pictures. No, on your Mac as well. We're going to implement these like new design features that makes it look smoother, cleaner, and more modern. You know, and so bringing these features across the board, and honestly taking the best features, just like the way the trackpad behaves on the Mac, and with the system, and adding like the iOS touch to it. You don't have to. They they maintain the same level of utility, and putting like this like special like the special sauce of uh of iOS and Apple iPadOS on it to make it like its own thing, but it's essentially the same as the Mac, and that makes it great.
Yes.
And that's why I think it's worth the $300 plus.
Yeah. Yeah. It does really like it, it it adds so much to your iPad. Like you can go from it just being just let's say just a plain iPad, let's say, and you can turn it, and you could just with the a keyboard alone, you can take your iPad and turn it from a glorified iPhone into a Mac, basically almost. So which is incredible with just like a $300 upgrade, which is a lot, but like you're turning your iPad into a Mac basically, which is really impressive. I like it. It's cool. If somebody wants to have the iPad just as an iPad, just as a bigger iPhone, they can have it. They can just buy the iPad and get a folio case or whatever without the keyboard. If somebody wants to have a tuned down Mac, sort of, they could, but they still want to have. What's nice about the iPad is that you can turn it from a Mac into like a big iPhone, like a media device and like a gaming device. Like you can go on there and play like COD Mobile or play like Fortnite or whatever, play some mobile games, and then you can go on it and then like do some real work and write papers and study and all that stuff, or do whatever you have to do Unfortunately, you can't code on the iPad yet. Hopefully, you'll be able to soon. But it's crazy how versatile the device is.
Yeah.
And just by adding a $300 keyboard, you can get all that versatility.
The whole experience has been lifted, and I've listened to many podcasts ever since, especially now that I have more time on my hands to catch up on podcasts that I otherwise haven't been able to listen to. And like overall, the overall impression of people that do use iPad and want to like it, and that trying hard to like live with it, but have like these roadblocks in their way, have been blown away by how much, like, no one was expecting this to come, first of all, and no one was expecting this to be this good. Like, often we talk about how Apple, like, just they innovate in a way that, like, it changes the world. But what you got to realize, that when Apple innovates, they never make something like out of the dust, like brand new. They just take existing concepts and like implement them in a way that they work so well together. And that's what we mean here. The other Magic Trackpad, the Magic Keyboard cases, whatever they're called, they were fine. Like, people bought them, and like, there's a reason why Apple keep remaking them for every version and updating them and making them nicer. But they were never great. Like, whatever.
Yeah, they were always they worked. Like, they weren't great, but it's like they got the job done. Bare minimum, but they did.
And all the iPad Pro users, like the people that use the iPad to its like deepest potential, they all buy like these third-party semi-pro devices, but they're not really pro, because you have to pair them to the Bluetooth, and then they have problems because they're not fully compatible with iPad and whatever, like the bridge keyboards and the Zag cases and the Logitech stuff. You know, they work fine, but it's not like made by Apple. It's not made to work flawlessly. They don't have like this refinement to it. It's different. And so that's why it's so I've never ever thought I would consider buying. I thought I was gonna stick with my regular Magic Keyboard, and I'll buy the one for the iPad. Until they came out with this thing, and it fixes problems that I didn't know I had.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Like, honestly, we've been going on for a while, and we have so many topics to cover. So, look, what I think we could do is let's cut the episode right here. I know that we have a lot of topics to talk about, but what we could do is we could release this episode sooner for you guys, make it a bit shorter than usual, and we'll come back with another episode for next week.
Sounds good.
All right. So thank you everyone for listening. Like, share, subscribe, give us some ratings on and let us know what you think. If you love this podcast, feel free to leave us some subscribing to our podcast and leaving us a rating, giving us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. You could also follow us on Facebook for news, Instagram for memes, and Twitter for random questions. You could also email us at our email down below in the doobly-doo to find to ask questions, find the links that we've been talking about, criticisms, and everything else. So we thank you for listening, and bye-bye.
Bye.